Hello and welcome to Global Agenda. I am Ukeme Etuknwa. Today's program is dedicated to World Environment Day and a chat with renowned wildlife professor and zoologist Ukeme Etuknwa gives insights into the nexus between finance, environment, and health. Stay tuned. We're here, crocodile preserving, not hunting. Hunting is haram. I mean, you're on the world pedestal when it comes to recognition in the wildlife field and sector. What is the nexus between these two, and how do we need each other if we do?
We really need each other. As you know, life is described as from cradle to the grave. The cradle is on the earth. The grave is on the earth. And when people, survive, you survive on the resources of the earth. The land that we grow our crops, the land we build our houses, even the materials we use for building our house comes from the earth. The animal species, our farm animals, for example, they survive and depend on the earth.
In your field of wildlife, I got the opportunity to come to your conservation center.
Right.
I got to see a lot of different animals.
That's right.
Interestingly, I got to hold snakes. I got to see carcasses of crocodiles.
Yeah.
I got to see extinct animals. What is the reason for that conservation center? What is the state of Nigeria's wildlife? And what exactly can it offer the Nigerian economy if it can?
The essence is that when people come in there, they see, they ask questions, they learn about them, they understand their conservation value, because there are categories of endangered species, critically endangered, and even animals facing extinction, as you said.
Mention a few, please.
Some of these are the long-snouted crocodile of Nigeria is almost at the verge of extinction. It took our organization, the Biodiversity Preservation Center, 15 solid years to trace that animal in Nigeria. We've seen what is happening to pangolins all over the country. We've seen what is happening to our grey parrots, which are endangered birds, even the vultures that are disappearing. And for this reason, we have to keep those representative population for people to have access to see them, to know them, and learn about them. Students come from the university to do attachment there and so on, and the public come there to view the animals. Wildlife recreation in terms of ecotourism is an enormous revenue generating enterprise.
Tell me more.
I tell you that East Africa, Southern Africa, countries like Kenya, Tanzania, Ethiopia, South Africa, the economy of this country depends so much on wildlife-based tourism. If you want to go to Uganda, for example, today to view mountain gorillas, I bet you it will take you maybe the next 6 months to have a slot to pay as much as $6,000 to go view gorillas, mountain gorillas, for 1 hour. 1 hour, aside from your flight tickets and stuff. But are you aware that Nigeria has the most important gorilla species on the planet, which is called the Cross River gorilla, found in northern Cross River State, Boki local government, up to Obudu, and so on? These gorilla population are regarded as the northernmost gorilla population on the planet. And for the unique name, Cross River gorilla, means it's only found in that region of the Cross River.
So when I came to your conservation center, I held a bottle that had a tooth, and you told me this was a species that lived in the water that had been killed. And in many regions across Nigeria, we find out that when something washes offshore, we first tend to kill it before we examine it. Can you tell me about the economic demerit that killing of wildlife and the ecosystem in Nigeria?
Yes, as much as wildlife is so important, some species are phenomenal. Some species are of global importance. There are species that are what we call migratory species, like the dolphin, the Atlantic humpback dolphin, otherwise known as Sousa tuzi in science, is Africa's most important dolphin species. It is critically endangered, and it happens to range freely in the coastal waters of Nigeria, from Bayelsa, Delta, Akwa Ibom, Cross River rivers. They see them. Now, if we want to build an ecotourism program in targeting this particular dolphin, Nigeria will make so much money. This dolphin also exists in Lagos. People see them on the beaches of Lagos passing by. We have not recognized this dolphin. We're not paying attention to them. That's why when one is killed, the heart of the global conservation community bleeds. And a specimen was killed in Oyorokoto. Oyorokoto is in Rivers State and an Andoni area of Rivers State. When that one specimen was killed, the world shook. For that killing, I was sent abroad recently to go and be trained on the management of this dolphin species. That's how critically important it is. You talk about, for instance, when they killed the swordfish in the same Oyorokoto. What happened? The killers came to realize that the swordfish was worth millions of dollars, one single fish. And the people regretted to the extent that the man contemplated suicide. So, what do we stand to gain? If Nigeria should promote the in-situ conservation of this species and develop an ecotourism master plan in conjunction with the Federal Ministry of Environment, NIMASA, the Ministry of Trade and Tourism, all the relevant stakeholders with NGOs that have been working to promote conservation.
When you look at the food chain, sometimes, like you've said, one has to feed on the other.
Yeah.
Now, when it comes to humans eating certain wildlife, we have seen an outbreak of different diseases that affect the human health system.
Right.
What are some of them? What are some of the consequences, and how can it be avoided? How can we live in harmony with our environment and not necessarily eat everything that we are attracted to in the wild?
Right. That's a very good question. I want to tell you it's a very dangerous thing because mainly almost 70% of all the global pandemics that we know in recent contemporary times comes from one species of wildlife or the other. We are familiar with Lassa fever in Nigeria. It comes from the marmoset rat that moves freely in our environment. We are familiar with HIV/AIDS. HIV came from primate monkeys and so on, originally from the 80s. We are familiar with Ebola. Ebola also, even though it originated from East Africa, it came to Nigeria and we lost some important people. We are familiar with Rift Valley fever. We are familiar with monkeypox that is ravaging some countries right now. So all these things come from wild animals. So when people just, whatever they see, snake, monkey, they just eat. They don't realize that some of these species have zoonotic pathogens that can cross from animal to man and from man to animal. So you don't just go rice, Peter, kill and eat, in quote, that they said in the Bible. We have to recognize the risk of this kind of consumption, all right? Because if you handle them, you can get infected. If you butcher them, you are at a very high risk. If you cook them and you didn't cook them well and you consume them, you can get any of this disease. Mere contact.
In fact, some of the theories of the COVID-19 virus itself is rooted in
from wild animals,
consumption.
And they blame China that consume everything moving. Some of these pathogens incubate for a long time. It will take a long time to manifest, such that even the consumer won't even attribute his sickness to the animal he ate in 2021. And so that
by the time we hear of it, it's a new virus.
It's a new
It's
virus.
a new pandemic.
A new pandemic has come. So we must be wary of what we eat and how we eat them. Apart from the conservation ethics that demand that endangered species of animals should not be killed.
A sustainable life is a sustainable environment. Thank you so much for staying tuned. Join me next week as I bring more sustainable goals to life. I'm Ukeme Etuknwa. Bye-bye.